For everyone listening to this video, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Max Coleman. I'm the Director of Programming at the New Israel Fund Australia. And we are having this important conversation at a very crucial time. So we're really happy and satisfied to be joined tonight, my time or for whenever anyone's watching this video, with Yeela Raanan from the Regional Council of Unrecognised Villages. We spoke with Yeela earlier this year in our event with Rabbis for Human Rights and the Regional Council around all the really important human rights work that both the Rabbis for Human Rights and the Regional Council are doing in general. And in regards to the current situation that's been unfolding, NIF has been using our emergency funding campaign to work with the Regional Council of Unrecognised Villages in this moment, in the wake of the violence unfolding in Israel and Gaza since October 7th. We are really proud of that work. It's very fundamental to the humanitarian response that we are funding and ensuring that the communities that are the most vulnerable have the means to respond at this challenging time. I also wanted to add that earlier this year, I was in Israel in the south, in the Negev, and met many of the people who work with Yeela and had a tour of some of the unrecognized villages. And the spirit of these communities, the determination, the perseverance is really incredible. And I'm very proud to work with NIF and know that we're supporting these communities at this really crucial time. Anyway, I've taken up a bit too much time with the intro, so I'll hand over to Yeela now to introduce herself and the truly important work of the Regional Council, particularly at this moment.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much, both for the support and for the support from a Jewish community to the citizens of Israel who are non-Jewish, who are Arab and Muslim. And I'll try and give you a very short, brief explanation of what these villages are, what the Regional Council is, and what we do in general, and what we're trying to do nowadays. As you said, my name's Yeela, Dr. Yeela Raanan. I live in the community of Kisufim, Kibbutz Kisufim, which is on the Gaza border. I lived. I was at home on October 7th with my 12-year-old daughter, just the two of us in the house, when armed people walked into our house. They did not open our safe room, and we are safe. We are 7 families. I mean, myself, my son with his family, another son with his family, 2 daughters, and the old parents all live on the Gaza border, and we're all alive and safe. But it's very traumatic. I'm telling you this also to say that for me, the process of healing started a week later when I came back to work here with the Unrecognized Villages. And the ability to work together in the Israeli milieu of both Jews and Arabs is, I think, there can't be a better healing process than that. And so you guys, in the way that you are contributing to us, you are also making this happen. It is very important. We've been trying to do this trying to create a community of together, Jews and Arabs who are citizens of Israel, and not have that separation, which is sort of like forced upon us by the right in Israel and the ultra-right. And now in the days of the war, it is even more important and more precious. So thank you for that. So what are these unrecognized villages? Israel has an Arab minority, and inside the Arab minority, there's a Bedouin minority. There is a very, very small Bedouin minority in the north, so I'm talking only about the Arab Bedouin minority in the south of Israel. They were here in this desert. This is the northern part of the Sahara. They have been here since time immemorial, in the sense that we don't have any certification. There's nothing written about it. But if we want to view Abraham as one of the Bedouin, that'll work. His way of life, and the stories about him in the Bible, they are a good representation of the way the Bedouin live today too, or lived until modern times. So they have been here, the Bedouin community, certainly for hundreds of years, probably for thousands. When Israel became a state, Israel tried to expel as many as possible of its Arab population, and that included also the Bedouin population of the south. And so from 100,000 before the state of Israel, after the state, the 1950s, there were only 12,000 Bedouins in the south of Israel. And because of very high birth rate, nowadays we are at 300,000 Bedouins who live in the Negev. Israel has tried to convince them to move into urban settings. It had taken people off their lands in the early 1950s, and the communities that had been pushed off their lands in the 1950s, during the 70s and 80s and 90s, they did move into urban settings. So now I'm talking about 300,000 Bedouin people, Israeli citizens of Bedouin descent. Half of them are now living in towns and one city. The city of Rahat is over 70,000 people, big city. And about another 70, 80,000 people are living in another 6 towns. The rest is still living in rural settlements, in villages. The villages nowadays don't look like the villages of before 1948. They were hamlets at the time, and they were mostly made out of tents. Now it is mostly out of tin structures. And if you want to try and imagine it, then maybe a shanty town would be the best way to imagine it. Is that right? You were there.
Yeah, it looks like tin temporary building structures, many of the
Yeah.
villages. I think many of our supporters in Australia have driven past many of these communities, even in traveling in the Negev or visiting kibbutzim down in the south as well. People might be familiar with the kinds of villages and structures you're talking about.
Yeah. And so Israel has, the policies of Israel has been to say, no, you don't exist. You don't exist as communities. You do exist as people, but the communities are not there and they're not on the ground. And so what we have called them unrecognized villages, in the sense the government does not recognize their existence as a village, as a community. And as such, it doesn't exist. The idea is it does not exist upon our national map. Okay, if we look at an official map of Israel, they're not there. Once they're not there, then there is also no possibility of requesting building permits. If there is no planning of the village, there is, and you know, since they are individuals, as part of individuals, they are part of our community the citizens of Israel. They do get schools. But the schools are not necessarily in their communities. They are sometimes quite far away. There's no roads. And so even if the kids are now bused to school, they started the busing to school of kids only in the 1980s. Until then, if you lived more than 5 kilometers in a donkey ride from school, you just didn't go to school. And so I was brought up in Israel in the Negev, and my counterparts of Bedouin community, if they didn't get to school, okay, many people of my age just didn't get to school. And in the 1980s, they started being bused to schools. So these villages exist and they don't exist officially. Therefore, there's a lot of lack of human rights, like the right for a roof. The houses cannot get a building permit because their village doesn't exist. So there's no official way of getting a building permit. And as such, they are all, according to law, they must be demolished. And so the government doesn't demolish them all because they know that they have nowhere else to live at this point. So you can't demolish the houses of 150,000 people, knowing that they have nowhere else to live. But it's an ongoing process, which means that people build only these very simple, inexpensive, made out of tin homes, which is the cheapest building material. Living in tin homes is not conducive to your health. It's very hot in the summer, it's very cold in the winter. They heat the houses often with an open fire, which is not very good for your lungs and not very good for the safety of the children. And so this non-recognition has a lot of negative effects on the people. In 1997, the people of these villages decided to start a democratic nonviolent struggle by creating an organization that would be very similar to official governmental regional councils, because in the absence of a regional council of their own, they made, okay, we'll make one which is a popular one, like of the people. And so they created the regional council for the unrecognized villages, and it emulates the regular structure, the regular governmental structure of a regional council. And currently, I've been part of this regional council for more than 20 years. And this year, about a year ago, I took upon myself to be the general manager of this organization. What we do is we have 46 villages. Each village has a village committee that sends a representative. And each one of the 46 representatives elect in a ballot their head. And so our leader, the person who is the head of the regional council, his name is Dr Yeela Raanan, and he is elected just like in a democracy. It is made so it'll be as fair as possible, and also so that we can talk to our government and say, yes, he is an elected person. Yes, this is an organization that shows what the people want. And what we do, I mean, our aim is to get the villages recognized. Our aim is to get the people of these villages the services and the rights that should be granted to any citizen because this person is a citizen. And we have also understood we need to continue to help the villages even after they are recognized in the process of becoming planned, because we have succeeded. We have 18 villages that are recognized. However, the government is then using the process of urban planning in order to once more minimize the land that these people are sitting on. The whole issue is an issue of land. Does this land belong to? Does this land need to be in use of Arab citizens rather than the Zionist Jewish people? And so that's the source of the conflict between the Bedouin, the indigenous people of this area, and the government. Truthfully, the government or Israel has succeeded in minimizing the land. Currently, the Bedouin are utilizing about 3.5%, 4% of the Negev lands, and they are between about 40% of the Negev citizens. So they used to use the entire land used to be there. So 1948, 99% of the land was of use of the Bedouin, and now they've moved down to 4%. But the government is continuing this process of trying to minimize land that they're using, and the policies are policies of non-recognition. No, you don't exist. So our everyday is a harsh everyday. The policies have created poverty, I mean, intense poverty. The Bedouin urban communities are the poorest of the communities of Israel, because Israel, when it created these urban communities, made a place for people to live, but did not also think about the next step, which is giving a good education and giving also a place to make a living, or an option to make a living. And so these are very, very poor communities. And the poverty level of the children in these communities, in the urban communities, is about 60%. The poverty level of the kids in the villages is 85%. I mean, this is extreme poverty. We have 85% of the children in the villages officially living below the poverty line, and many, many, many are deeply below the poverty line. And that means that we have hungry kids. We really have hungry kids. And now I'm going to talk about the war. So when we start a war, and there is a war that is on the south of Israel, including missiles onto the south of Israel, including onto the villages, and including on, the Israeli agriculture is a place where Bedouin work. And so Bedouins are losing their small amount of income. And so if beforehand the kids were hungry, they're hungrier now. One of the ways Israel is dealing with child hunger is bringing food to the schools, but that has stopped since the beginning of the war. And so if beforehand, if every day it's dire conditions, the conditions have become even more dire. I mean, it's hard to imagine a Western world that has this kind of quite big population of people and children who are hungry. So what we do, we have received from you and from others money to make food. I mean, just to make boxes full of food. And we have been sending out boxes full of food to families. The regional council, the organization that I'm with, because we have been for the last 20 some years the most existing. I mean, we're the ones which exist in the villages. So we know of the hungry families. We can reach the families who need it the most. Every head of village committee, he knows his village. We have started now also to use a network of women leaders and activists who also get to a different group of families. Okay, so we have the male one, the men, we have the women, and we make sure that food comes to those who really, really need it. So I want to thank you, because much of the money that we get in order to buy the food, to make the boxes, to bring them to the people, is thanks to you guys. And others around the world, and mostly Jews. Mostly it's the Jewish communities around the world and in Israel, which are working to make this happen. So again, if I'm going to speak once more about my feelings from this war, it really is an island of sanity inside a world, my world, that's gone upside down. And also sometimes we think, why do you give them food and not food vouchers? And it's a good question. Okay, the government has been giving some food vouchers, but these people live in very far away from the road. No, it's Israel, it's not Australia, very far away, but far away from the roads. And if you don't have a car, then, and many families don't have cars, then you can't go to the supermarket to get food. So even if you do get a food voucher, then you can't get the food. Another thing is that these people are so disconnected from the governmental services. Our government is giving food vouchers to people who are registered as poor in the country. But in order to register as poor, you have to go once a week to the Office of Employment. I don't know exactly how you call it in Australia. But if you don't have a car and there's no buses, and you're very poor, you can't get to the Office of Employment once a week. So even when Israel's trying to help the very poor, we have this quantity of even more poor people who are even poorer than the ones who are the poor in Israel who can get the governmental help. And so again, my organization, the RCUV, are those who have access, who know who these people are, and are doing our most, but just to get to these people. I joined Maegel Elawashle, who is our community person, this week. He said, let's do it together. And we went and gave out as many boxes of food as my car could carry to families, mostly women who have no men in their family, who live in a structure made out of tin with no door, just an opening, a floor that's made out of ground, and a pile of blankets. That's it. And this is supposedly a Western world, a country. So thank you for that. And also we gave out shelters because there are missiles that are falling on these villages. And when you don't have the right to build a home, you don't have the building permit, you also don't have a building permit for a shelter, and the government is not letting them have shelters. So when the rockets come, they just fall straight on the house that's made out of tin. People run out of the houses because the tin itself is a killer. If there's a rocket that comes and breaks the tin up, the tin can kill you, and has killed people this war. We've had families, not many, but every child that's killed is huge. And people are terrified. Mothers are terrified. They're not going to work to protect their kids if there is a missile attack, etc. Everybody's traumatized. And as opposed to my community, I've got plenty of, if you ever want me to talk critically about what the government is not doing with my community, I will do that. But this community, it's doing nothing with, okay, with the Bedouin residents of the unrecognized villages. So everything you give is very important. We are not stopping. We're actually hoping this is an opportunity to make our government recognize these villages. Bedouins participated in saving people on October 7th. There's many stories of heroism, of Bedouins going back and forth and bringing out more and more Jewish people who were trapped there inside the hell that was going on. And so we have managed to bring these stories out, and it is helping us try to make our government recognize the need at long last to recognize these villages, to allow them to be planned in a way that is in accordance to the economic and cultural needs of the people and not another small town. And so we're doing that as well. And we're going to continue we're doing it right now in the middle of the war, and we will continue until we succeed. That's it for now. Questions?
Amazing. You certainly answered a bunch of questions I was going to ask. I think much of what we're hearing, obviously, in Australia is very black and white when it comes to the war in the mainstream media. Even in the Jewish community, it's very much focused around Jewish Israeli victims, Palestinian victims inside of Gaza, and those are the news stories that we're getting. And I think it's very important to hear exactly, as you said, how this war, how the conflict is affecting the Bedouin community. Many Bedouin people in the South were affected on October 7th. Many were killed, as you said, as well, even if the number isn't so high. And I think that for us here in Australia, it's important to understand the not just the nuance of the different populations affected by the war, but the real significant and unique effect that the conflict is having on these Bedouin communities who are already the most vulnerable and already so discriminated by the government. And I think you encapsulated that so well for us to hear over here, and we're really proud to support that work, be it humanitarian, be it shelters, be all of what you mentioned. And I think the other thing, and maybe you have something more to share on this note, is to bring to life the kind of shared society that you're creating as someone who's a Jewish Israeli who's working every single day with Bedouin community in the South. I think that's something really special and unique, and something that paints a new future for Israelis and for Palestinians to work towards. And I think that just hearing the personal connections that you have with these people in the communities is special. If you'd like to talk a little bit more about that. And I guess the kind of secondary part of that is a message of hope and optimism and how we can move forward. I think you touched a little bit on an opportunity to recognize the villages, which is incredible. If you have anything else to share in that way as well, that would be great.
Thank you. And again, I view myself as extremely lucky that I have this every day of working with both Jewish community and the Bedouin community together. I mean, when we have a meeting over here, this is our meeting room, then we have 2/3 of Bedouin, 1/3 of Jewish, more or less, working totally together in order to make this country a better place for everybody. Okay, so I mean, for us, this is our neighborhood, this is our people, and for the people in this room and for people I work with, we really don't feel that we have to divide our country according to Jews and Arabs. And it's been this way, I mean, forever, for those who've been working with the regional council. But during these days of war, I feel it even in a more strongly. My English is not great. Too many years in Israel. The fact that we have been working, the New Israel Fund has been working with the regional council. I have been working with the regional council. others. It is like a door that is open to allow more and more people to walk in, more Jews to walk in, to say, yes, I want to participate in creating a better future for Israel. My vision is a country of all its citizens, in the sense that we all deserve to live a life of dignity. A life of dignity has to have inside it social justice and equality. There's no other way of allowing a life of dignity for all. And so during this war, we are actually more people working together than before. And really, I invite you to come and join. You came and you saw it in the way that the Bedouin view us, the Jews who work with them and participate with them, as partnerships. It's a partnership for them. When I talked to my friends right after the war, they knew I was on the border. They knew that the phone calls, nobody could phone me when I was in Kisufim because we had no communication. But the people who kept on finding, where are you? Are you okay? And so I had to let so many people know after we were rescued out of the area. But it was equal, Jews and Arabs, and the Arabs were interested in me and how are you doing, and I'm interested in them and how are you doing, and we lost friends together. So people like me are lucky, and it's also thanks to you guys, in the sense that we are creating the society we want to live in. And that society is a shared society, a society in which the divisions are not between your ethnicity, but other things, maybe your political views, other things, but not the ethnicity as the thing that defines the group you belong to. And it's really happening. And we know that it is not finished. I mean, we have to work. We're using this horrible time as an opportunity of strengthening the shared society. And I am realizing when I talk to people who are not here with me, both Jews and Arabs, who are not in this doing together, that they are experiencing the opposite during this war. So I really consider myself lucky that I can be part of this. And anybody who is contributing through you guys is helping that happen. Okay, it's not me all by myself. So thank you for that. And yes, the future is to intensify and succeed even more in our work in recognizing the villages, in making them planned properly. It has been a very, very challenging endeavor. And also because of the last government, the government that we're living with right now, the one beforehand actually gave us opportunities that were stopped too fast, in which Mansour Abbas was part of the government. And so we had some small windows opening up for us. We're hoping that this war will open people's eyes that hatred is not the way to go. But anything that happens will happen because we do it, because we make it. And when I'm saying that, I'm not saying it's my job, Yeela, it's all of our jobs. It's my Arab partners, it's mine, it's yours too. The more you send out the message of the future is a future in which appreciation of each other, solidarity with each other, is the only way to go. And I'm only talking right now of the citizens of Israel, Jews and Arabs, but it should be enlarged to the whole area between now the Palestinians and the pro-Hamas are saying from the sea to the river, from the sea to the river, solidarity, not hatred, solidarity. I don't know what the solution needs to be, but there must be a solution and a process in which in the end, and there is an end game, and the end game is the right and the ability to live a life of dignity for everybody here. Bedouin, Jews, Gazans, West Bank, Palestinians.
Thank you so much, Yeela. And I want to thank you for taking the time to speak to me, particularly in this moment, in this crisis that continues to unfold. And we send all of our love and solidarity to you and everyone over in Israel, particularly those those people that you're working with, and the community that you come from, that has been through truly horrific situation, and we hope for all the best, and we're sending that support. And I invite everyone who's watching this to learn more about the work of the Regional Council of Unrecognised Villages and all of the Bedouin communities in the Negev, and you can support that work by donating to NIF at our website. So thank you so much again, and
thank you.
Speak to us.
And thank you, everybody. Your support is meaningful. It really is. First of all, it's food for kids, and it's the opportunity to bring them to the recognition of the villages, but it also fills the heart with hope. So thank you very much.
Thanks again.